Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week's theme of bagpipes looking at a track from a band called Skiltron. It comes off the album Into the Battlegrounds. The track is Loyal We Will Stand. I'm kind of guessing we got some sort of metal ahead of us just based off of the font for the band name and the album art. I don't know, let's dive into it and see what Skiltron's bringing to the table. Pretty standard 4/4 here. Really nice bass presence here. Mostly simple ideas, pedal tones in the bass, chords on the guitars, beautiful melody line. Yep. Interesting vocal layering. The right voice was a bit louder than the left and center, which kind of messed with the balance of it. I liked what they were going for. Compositionally, production was just a little unexpected. Oh, we've added a new idea over here. Just going up and down the chord on the piano, starting from the root and going up. Oh, I didn't notice the bagpipes were back here. It's the same line from the intro. All right. kind of wish the guitar solo would have continued on in the backgrounds. I guess it would have been contending with the bagpipes, so maybe not. I was really hoping for that punctuated repetition and hit it. There was a synth the whole time? I must be getting rusty. Wow. So we have a pretty straightforward track here. The guitars primarily play chords. We do have the bass laying down pedal tones. Drums are pretty straightforward as well, having a pretty standard quarter note rhythm going on in the verse, and then the dun 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 dun, the galloping thing going on in the chorus. We have the bagpipes come in on our intro and our chorus. It's the same line for both of them. It's a catchy little melody with some ornamental hooks in it. Then we have a fairly catchy vocal track on top of the verse, and a layered vocal track that I find is a little less catchy, interestingly, across the chorus. We have a couple guitar solos tossed in there, and that's the track. It sort of stays within its lane for the majority of the song. It doesn't really extrapolate or attempt anything too far outside the realms that they cement down as the expanse of the song within the first 30-40 seconds. Our chord progressions don't change, our emotional, atmospheric stuff doesn't change. We do have a contrast between the sparseness of the verse and the explosiveness of the chorus, but that's really the only change in style across the track. I do want to focus on a couple of things real quick before you hit the lyrics, though, because otherwise this would be a pretty empty analysis. First off is the vocal production in the chorus, and it's just interesting. It didn't grate on me as much the second and third time around, but that first time it was very unexpected and just odd. The idea of having the highest pitch harmony in the center and lower ones off to the side to create a triad, pretty typical idea. But something about the middle channel just wasn't punching through as clearly as it should have been, I think, and the right channel was a lot louder than it should have been, almost as if they were inverted. The left channel felt like where it should have been, and the middle channel kind of met that. And I feel like it should have been the right side that was paired well with the left, and the center should have had the boost, especially since it was the higher pitched part. It was the more powerful part. The song escalates into it. You expect to have more punch. The range comes in to support that, but the volume just isn't there, and it gets kind of lost in the guitar work and especially the bagpipe work. Whereas I have this voice that was mid-range, I think, just very clear and present over on my right side, but I should have done it over here to make it look like the right for y'all. Just an interesting choice. I'm not sure what happened. Like I said, it almost sounds like they got switched. And the wrong settings were put for the wrong voices. Maybe it was a last minute change where they kept the range of the verse in the center, and we had a higher pitched one off to the right, and then they decided later on, well, the energy rises. Let's put the higher pitched one center, but they didn't readjust the mix on it. I don't know. That's where my brain goes on that. I don't know how you could mess that up. That's the thing. Which leads me to think it's intentional for some reason, and I don't know why. Like I said, it feels odd to me, especially when everything else in here supports a pretty standard type of production. Everything's where I expect it in the right levels, the right placement. And so that one was a little odd. I like the bagpipe line. I do. It's catchy. It's got a nice bit of groove to it, especially once we bring in the drums, especially after our intro. The drums come in to support it. I thought that was really nice. And then to include it in the chorus as well was a nice extra little bit of layering that helped the chorus feel larger, especially in contrast to the sparse verse, and allowed the bagpipe section to continue to come through as sort of this motif through the song. Um, and I enjoyed that. I felt it was just a little too weak in that third section. The third time we came around to the chorus, I don't know what it was. I don't think anything changed. It just, I couldn't hear it as clearly. So I don't know what happened there. But yeah, it's a really nice part. Speaking of nice parts, though, we got to talk about the solos. I I enjoyed them. They were not super technical, so I tried to view them on a purely storytelling basis, and for the most part, they were good. The second solo I thought worked exceptionally well, and we got a little bit better pacing and flow out of it. But it ended too soon, and I kind of hoped that it had continued on underneath the vocals as it brought us into the final chorus. But I corrected myself after that. The bagpipes are there, and the guitars would have easily drowned them out. Once again, bagpipes in the third chorus feel weak for some reason. I think that with a little bit of production help, we probably could have had all three vocals, plus the rhythm guitar and bass, plus the solo guitar, plus the drums and the bagpipes. Would have been a task. I don't know who produced this. It could be that it was self-produced and none of them were, uh, you know, engineers by trade, right? And this was just, this was the extent of their combined skill level for production, and that's what we got out of it. Yeah, I don't have any information about the producer on this. Oh, it was recorded at Headhunter Studios, though. Mixed and mastered by Lanave. I just saw that name too. So it looks like they did not mix it themselves. They had a professional mixer do it. So yeah, that's yeah, I don't have anything to add to it then. I think it could have been possible to continue on the guitar solo, or maybe just extend it out a little bit. I really liked where it was going. I felt like it was cut just a bit short. Which the other solo I felt had a rough start to it, found its footing, and then stayed longer than it probably should have. It outstayed its welcome, primarily because I wasn't too keen on the final idea we went to. I liked that we harmonized the guitars. Really interesting production. Again, a center and a right, nothing on the left to balance it out. Um, but the idea itself, constant eighth notes, two beats or two notes per pitch, and just having this rising and falling escalation. I don't know. Maybe if I was more attuned with the story being told here, it would make more sense. But on a musical level, it felt a bit just a little bland for me, unfortunately. It could be that I just went into it expecting something totally different. There's nothing in the guitar work that prior that would showcase any sort of different technical level, whether it is musical proficiency or compositional proficiency. That would indicate that the solos would have been any different than they were. I don't know why I expected more, but I did on both parts, unfortunately. Um, and then the vocal work. I want to touch on this real quick. It looks like all three people do vocals in this band, which is pretty cool because we have three voices in here. I'm curious if that is all three of our members. We have the guitarist, who is our lead vocalist, and then the bassist and the drummer who do backup vocals. I think their voices work together really well. I do. We have this nice, powerful belt. We have some lower end, less vibrato, just very sturdy, vocal set, and then we also have a timbre that sits in the middle. It kind of has a little bit more character and energy to it, a little bit more range as well. I don't know what the range of the vocalists are. I just know what's been indicated here, but we have a low one, a medium one, and then a high one, and they all bring varying amounts of energy and characteristic to their delivery as well. And like I said, it all just kind of comes together really well, where we end up with this really distinct sound that is accentuated by the fact that they're all placed rather separate from each other. But they come together and work very well in that the different elements of their timbres actually work together to support the overall harmony that they're going for. I really enjoy it. I would not mind listening to more of this band, primarily because of the vocals, but I am curious if they have anything that might be a bit more. I feel kind of bad saying this, but engaging at least on my for me. This is a subjective thing. Some people are going to listen to this and just absolutely love it, fully engaged with it. That's not me, unfortunately. It feels a bit. I don't know. I think the thing is that it's hyper iterative in a style that I'm not a big fan of. And see, that's a cool thing about iteration too, because we have iterative metalcore on the channel every once in a while, and people are like, I not my cup of tea, and I'll be jamming along with it, right? I don't mind iterative metalcore because I like metalcore. You don't really need to add too much to the formula to grab my attention, but this is pretty much just metal. Whatever the vanilla kind of metal is, heavy metal, I guess, with some harmonies and maybe a little dash of folk in here. And for people who enjoy that, I'm sure that this sounds fantastic to them, but it's not really my cup of tea to start with. And the fact that it feels iterative doesn't help me get into it. One thing I forgot to bring up briefly that I really enjoyed was the pre chorus. Had a really nice way of building intensity by returning back to the root chord. So we would have 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 4, and that's where we get the leading tone that brings us into the chorus. It's this really nice way of keeping this element of not adding a lot of tension and retaining this element of home, especially since I just looked at the lyrics. It's called Loyal We Stand. It's all about having this group of people who, they don't change. They'll always have each other's back. They're always going to be that rock for each other. And so having a home note that we continue to return to, no matter how far away we get from it, we keep returning to this place of comfort, basically. And so we have this rising tension when you look at every other chord. We have the chord that takes us away from one. We have the chord that introduces some tension. We return back to that chord that takes us away from one. We return, and then we go to the leading chord that'll take us into the chorus. So we have this element of rising and increasing tension. We have the leading tone that tells us where we're going, but we always have this feeling of comfort and safety as well throughout this. I thought that was a really nice way to go about doing that, where most people would just throw about a pretty typical 4 chord progression of rising intensity into a leading tone into the chorus. And since it is 8 bars, they probably would have done each chord for 2 bars, and pretty straightforward way of doing that. And they did step outside of that a little bit to introduce this concept that works well with the lyrical themes, which are exactly what it's about. I mean, the opening stanza, pretty clear. We've been marching together, we've been sharing this way, always true to our ideals. Today we are still here. And pretty much the rest of the verse stanzas. There's six verse stanzas, and then the chorus, and they're all about continuing to push forward, to reach the top of the mountain, to to continue to do what y'all do best together. And no matter what obstacles or hurdles or people get put in your way or try to bring you down, you'll always have each other's back, and no one can stop you from the greatness you're destined for. And so we get to the chorus, which says, "Many will fall, only a few win. We'll keep on marching until our last breath, reaching the top, the strength of our will. Loyal we will stand." There is an element of this that makes me think specifically of war, especially since the album is Into the Battleground. The album art is of a war. It's possible that this is about either the camaraderie of people who are all fighting for the same cause, or the camaraderie of a specific squad or platoon or whatever terminology they're going to use for that concept. I don't know in particular what they're aiming about, but it is about a tight knit group of people who believe nothing will stop them as long as they stick together, and they have that optimism throughout. And I think the music continues with that optimism. It's that forward drive, that forward momentum, and the fact that it's not really a heavy song. I don't really want to call it happy or optimistic, but it has that positivity to it. And it feels very much like, the folk elements and even the rhythmic cadence of it outside of the galloping section. It really does kind of have that. I don't know why I bring this up so often with these types of songs, but a pub song, something you and your buddies will sing at the bar. You get your drinks and you're singing together, and it's got that nice sort of, what is it, like a shanty rhythm to it. And it's about camaraderie. Every single time we get something like this, it reminds me of that. And part of it is that optimistic atmosphere as well. So those are my thoughts on Skiltron's Into the Battleground. No, that's the album. Of their track Loyal We Will Stand. Let me know what you thought about this track in the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you can find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, a way to get to the Discord server, ways to support the channel, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell, I greatly appreciate all three. We also have a creator request and a special selection coming out today in the inverse order as I stated them. 5:30 and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those two respectively. And then tomorrow we have an album review, and I'm getting scared about it. I'm being told it's going to be rough for me. We got Cryptopsy, None So Vile. It's short. It's only like 32 minutes long, so if it's really as abrasive as it's being talked up to be, at least it won't take that long to get through. But if you want to see me get through some stuff that I'm probably not going to like, and you enjoy that sort of thing, which I think half this community does with how much black metal I get thrown at me. I kid. I kid. But yeah, that'll be tomorrow. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. We'll have our live stream for the patrons on Sunday. I'll get that out for everybody Sunday night, EST, of course. And then, next week, Monday, we'll start the next thing. I just realized that I release something every day. How am I not exhausted by this? Y'all are fantastic. Remember to be critical, not cynical about the music you listen to. Have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.